Hey, ever noticed how the guys women chase the hardest are the ones not even chasing them back? We're diving into the raw truth behind the inverted attraction theory. Why so many women are drawn like magnets to the one kind of man they can't have, the unavailable man. And no, this isn't about playing games. It's about understanding the psychological seduction that rewires female desire and flips logic upside down. The twist? The less you try, the more power you hold. The key lies in your masculine frame, emotional control, and a deep understanding of rejection psychology. So, here's the kicker. Most men have this completely backward. They overinvest, over-explain, over-chase, and end up rejected. But if you grasp this hidden dynamic, you'll unlock something rare. Magnetic presence that commands attention without saying a word. Have you ever noticed how her interest spikes the moment you stop explaining yourself, stop chasing, and simply go quiet? And suddenly she's the one checking where you are. Why women desire men who aren't available? Most guys think if they just show how much they care, she'll stay. If they text more, call more, explain more, prove themselves, it'll work. But here's the twist. The more available you become, the less mysterious you are. And once that mystery is gone, so is her spark. There's a silent formula beneath female desire, and most men are breaking it without even realizing. You're not being rejected because you're not nice enough. You're being rejected because you're too predictable. When a man is too present, too eager, too emotionally available too soon, it doesn't build connection. It kills tension. And guess what fuels attraction? Emotional triggers. Not comfort, not safety, not full access. What turns her on is the unknown, the strategic distance, the space where her imagination gets to run wild. It's not cruelty, it's psychological seduction. And it starts when you stop being afraid of what happens if you pull back. Let's be brutally honest. Unavailable men aren't winning because they're rude. They're winning because they aren't trying to win. That absence of neediness, that's magnetic presence. It sends a shockwave into her subconscious. Why isn't he chasing me like the others? That confusion, that's the seed of obsession. It's not about manipulation. It's about understanding the emotional impact of being in control of your energy. And yes, that's something you can learn starting now. Her desire isn't logical. It's biological. Women are biologically wired to respond to dominance, but not the loud, chest-beating kind. I'm talking about quiet, unshakable male confidence, the type that doesn't flinch when tested, the kind that doesn't beg, doesn't explain, and doesn't crumble when met with silence. That confidence, it speaks louder than flowers, texts, or long conversations. It tells her, this man has options. This man is grounded. That's emotional leverage. You've probably heard of hypergamy, a woman's drive to seek the best man she can get. But here's what's rarely said. Her definition of best isn't only about money or status. It's about emotional detachment. A man who can walk away at any time without losing himself is far more desirable than one who clings. It's not detachment from life. It's detachment from her outcome. That's power. That's what builds sexual polarity and tension. Let's paint the picture. She texts. You reply instantly. She cancels. You rebook. She pulls away. You lean in harder. Every move you make says you're more valuable than me. And you wonder why she loses interest. Instead, imagine this. You move with self-mastery. Respond when it fits your life and never chase. Now, you're not a convenience. You're a challenge. And female testing won't shake you. That's what flips the dynamic. That's what keeps her engaged. Ever notice how validation withdrawal shakes a woman more than an argument? It's not about punishing her, it's about disrupting the pattern. When she's used to men constantly feeding her attention, the man who doesn't play that game becomes the one who haunts her thoughts. That's the paradox. Pulling back creates presence. That's why non-neediness isn't weakness. It's a weapon. And wielding it well separates boys from men. This is how you change the entire energy of a connection. Let's make this real. Picture two men. One sends flowers, double texts, and plans his week around her. The other, he's kind, calm, centered, but doesn't revolve around her. Guess which one she dreams about? The second, every time. Why? Because she's not leading the dance. He is. His masculine frame anchors the interaction. He knows his worth, keeps his center, and doesn't fear rejection psychology. That subtle control, That's the switch that activates true female desire. Now, don't confuse this with playing hard to get. That's manipulation, and it's obvious. This isn't about pretending, it's about embodying. A man who's actually busy building himself doesn't need to fake distance. His scarcity mindset comes naturally because he understands that not everyone gets access to him. He doesn't beg for love, he filters for quality. That shift in energy creates an aura of mystery, and mystery makes a woman want to uncover the next layer. She'll test you not because she's evil, but because she needs to feel you. She'll push buttons, withdraw, create chaos. Why? To see if you'll collapse or stay composed. Most guys fail here. They get emotional, reactive, defensive, but the man who holds emotional control, he becomes the eye of the storm. That's when she feels safe, not because he fixes her mood, but because he doesn't absorb it. That's what alpha behavior actually looks like. Here's where most men slip. They chase female desire the way they chase goals directly. But female attraction doesn't obey linear logic. It flows through emotional tension, ambiguity, and rhythm. It dances between closeness and strategic distance. So, if you're always available, always expressing, always present, you're removing the very tension that keeps her curious. Keep this in mind. Silence, space, and mystery aren't passive. They're part of the psychological seduction process. Learn the rhythm. Imagine she pulls away for 2 days. Most guys freak out. Spiral text paragraphs. But a man in his masculine frame, he doesn't flinch. He uses that time to train, read, build, create. He becomes better, not bitter. And that's exactly what pulls her back. Why? Because she feels the absence of his energy. That vacuum draws her in more than words ever could. That's emotional impact at its core. Be the man who's unbothered, not cold, just full. Let's break the myth. Being emotionally expressive isn't the same as being emotionally available 24/7. You can still show warmth without giving up your edge. You can be open without being predictable. The key is an emotional detachment, not detachment from care, but from outcome. You love from abundance, not from need. That energy, it's addictive. That's what sets you apart from the 99% of men who smother rather than spark. That's how dark triad traits become tools, not traps. Real quick, ask yourself, when she pulls back, do you chase or pause? Because every time you chase, you teach her that you need her to feel whole. And the moment she senses that imbalance, attraction drops. Instead, try this. Take a breath. Sit with the discomfort. Channel it. That discomfort, it's your training ground. That's how self-mastery is built. That's how men become rare. And trust me, unavailable men aren't born. They're built through this fire. The moment she senses you're not emotionally hooked, her instincts activate. Not because she's manipulative, but because the game just got interesting. Now you're the variable. You flip the script, she starts checking your stories, asking about your plans, noticing your absence. That shift, it's not an accident. It's the result of you stepping into non-neediness, rooted in purpose. And that's what rewires her attraction. Not words, but presence. Not performance, but male confidence wrapped in stillness. Most men try to talk their way into her heart, but women feel, not just listen. If your vibe screams desperation, even under your best words, she'll feel it. On the other hand, a man who carries calm detachment and unshakable presence needs no speech. His vibe enters the room before he does. This man understands assertiveness, but doesn't force it. He doesn't need to prove dominance. He simply is. And that unspoken clarity, that's the real hook. And here's the thing. Once you experience what happens when you stop chasing, when you reclaim your energy, when you embrace emotional control, there's no going back. You start seeing the pattern, you start understanding the subtle dance of female testing and the power of validation withdrawal. You start watching her attraction build, not through what you give, but through what you withhold with intention. So, a quick reality check. How much of your energy have you been wasting trying to be more available? And what would happen if you flipped that switch today? And here, a quick pause. If this kind of insight is already opening your eyes to dynamics you've been blind to, hit that like button now and subscribe, because this is only the surface. The deeper we go, the clearer it gets, and the more control you reclaim. No fluff, no games, just raw truth. Let's keep going. Let's get brutally honest again. Women don't fall for men they understand. They fall for men they can't quite figure out. That's not a bug in the system. It's the system. Predictability kills tension. When you're always explaining yourself, always trying to clear the air, you're robbing her of the emotional suspense that fuels her interest. Stay grounded in mystery, not secrets, mystery. There's a difference. One hides out of fear, the other leads with calm power. Have you ever noticed how she's more drawn to the man who barely reacts than the one who emotionally bleeds? That's not accidental. It's rejection psychology at work. Her mind fixates on what feels just out of reach, and when a man sits with her drama without being pulled in, she senses something she can't name. Dominance, not aggression. Presence, the ability to be still in chaos. The quiet power says more than any speech or poem ever could. So, how do you build that presence? First, stop seeking permission to exist in her world. Own your own first. Build routines that don't revolve around her attention. Train, create, learn, disconnect from the noise. Start practicing delayed responses without excuses. That's how you plant the seed of scarcity mindset. When your time feels sacred, she'll feel it too. When you stop offering endless access, she'll start craving moments with you. That's not arrogance. That's emotional leverage in action. Now let's get practical. Instead of texting back instantly, pause. Not out of spite, but from self-mastery. When you post that subtle bait on social media, don't bite. You're not a fish. You're a mountain. You don't chase attention, you attract it. Women are hypersensitive to behavioral shifts. When you move differently, she feels it instantly. That subtle shift in rhythm, it shakes the whole dynamic because now she's uncertain. And that uncertainty is where female desire thrives. There was a guy named Ryan, gym rat, always texting, always checking up on her. He thought consistency was king until she ghosted. Crushed. He backed off not by choice, but by necessity. And guess what? The moment he stopped explaining, stopped chasing, started building. She came back confused, curious. He didn't reply instantly. He didn't validate. He stayed calm. Over time, she leaned in hard. Ryan learned the power of strategic distance and became unforgettable. The truth is, unavailable men aren't acting. They're just unavailable emotionally, mentally, sometimes physically. You don't have to fake that. You can channel it intentionally by committing to your own path. Purpose over pursuit. Growth over attention. The moment you let go of controlling how she feels, you start mastering how you move. That shift places you in the rare category of men who pull rather than push. And that's when magnetic presence becomes your natural state. Look around. Most men are emotionally scrambling. They're scared of silence, terrified of losing her. But what if the real danger isn't losing her? It's losing yourself trying to keep her. When you reclaim your center, you become grounded. And from that grounded place, you radiate something deeper than charm or looks. Masculine frame, a quiet, unshakable energy that speaks for you. And when a woman feels that, she knows she's dealing with a man she can't control. Let's get clear on this. Female testing is not a glitch. It's a filter. She wants to see if your strength is real or just something you perform when things are easy. That's why she'll cancel plans last minute. That's why she'll go cold suddenly. It's not always conscious, but it's always effective. The man who panics fails. The man who pauses, recalibrates, and holds the line, that's the man she respects. And respect is the doorway to real female desire. A strong woman doesn't want a doormat. She wants to feel the weight of your presence, not your pressure, not your people-pleasing, your presence, your stillness. That's what creates emotional gravity. So when she throws chaos at you and you meet it with calm eyes and slow breath, she senses something deeper. That's the power of emotional control. Not because you suppress, but because you choose. That choice again and again reinforces your alpha behavior. You don't win this game by being louder, you win by being stiller. When she storms off, you don't chase, you center. When she questions your vibe, you don't defend, you clarify. That's assertiveness, not aggression. That's non-neediness, not arrogance. The difference is subtle but seismic. And once she feels that energy, the energy of a man who doesn't lose himself to prove himself, you move from option to obsession. And that's how you start flipping roles. Think of it like a dance. If you lead too forcefully, she pulls back. If you hesitate, she loses rhythm. But if you hold your masculine frame and guide with relaxed confidence, she flows into it. The attraction becomes automatic. This is sexual polarity, the magnetic tension between masculine presence and feminine energy. Without it, you're roommates. With it, you're fire. Most men dull that spark by trying to be overly sensitive. You keep it alive by staying grounded. Here's where many fail. They confuse being a good man with being an available man. But the most attractive men aren't always available. They're selective. They invest with discernment. That's emotional detachment in motion. They're not cold. They're calibrated. They know their energy is valuable. And when a woman senses that she has to earn your attention, not just receive it by default, you ignite her emotional triggers because now your attention means something. Start seeing yourself as the prize, not in an egoic way, but energetically. You're not out to convince her. You're out to live so fully that being with you feels like a rare opportunity. That's scarcity mindset. That's magnetic presence. When your life is full of purpose, discipline, and joy, a woman doesn't want to be your whole world. She wants to be part of the gravity that orbits around you. Be that gravity. Be that rare. You don't have to cut her off to be unavailable. You just have to stop overgiving. Stop explaining. Stop flooding the connection with your need for reassurance. Instead, replace that energy with one thing: purpose. Focus on your craft, your vision, your body, your mind. That's how you build self-mastery, not by rejecting her, but by choosing you, that version of you. That's the man she remembers, the one who knew exactly where he was going with or without her. Here's the irony. The moment you stop obsessing over being chosen is the moment you become unforgettable. When your presence no longer hinges on her reactions, when you embody quiet dominance without theatrics, she starts to notice everything about you: your posture, your silence, your boundaries, that stillness. That's dark triad traits used consciously, not to manipulate, but to signal self-possession. Most men try to impress with effort. You impress with restraint. That's the real game. The men who win aren't always the loudest or richest. They're the ones who master the inner game. They don't chase women, they chase growth. They live with discipline. They rest with clarity. And when they engage with a woman, they're present, not desperate. That's emotional impact. That's what lingers. That's what makes her wonder about you long after the conversation ends. And if she's wondering, she's already leaning in. That's how psychological seduction begins. Not with noise, but with silence. Your value isn't in how much you give, it's in how deeply you are. Your words, your actions, your silence, they carry weight only when you've built yourself from the inside out. That's the essence of male confidence. It's not loud, it's not performative, it's the grounded energy of someone who no longer needs external proof. And that's when everything shifts. She sees it, she feels it, and she knows this man, he's not like the rest. So the next time you feel tempted to prove, to chase, to over-explain, pause. Remember the truth. You don't earn her desire through effort. You unlock it through presence, strategic distance, emotional grounding, and purpose-driven living. That's your foundation. The less you need her, the more she'll feel pulled to you. Not because you're playing games, but because you finally understand the rules. And once you see the pattern, you'll start noticing it everywhere. You've just uncovered a truth most men will never see, and even fewer will apply. But now the ball's in your court. Will you keep bending over backward to be nice, available, and endlessly accommodating? Or will you choose to become the kind of man whose energy speaks before he does? A man who doesn't chase because he knows he's the one worth chasing? Here's my challenge to you. Drop this in the comments right now. I choose self-mastery over approval. Let the world know you flipped the script. And hey, thank you genuinely. If you made it this far, I know you're not here for fluff. You're here to evolve. So please like this video, share it with a brother who needs to hear this, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so we can keep breaking patterns and building powerful men together.